Hello, this is me, Pizza Crust, and today I've come to make this video. Basically, and this is completely long overdue, because Verse Peppino came out a while ago at this point. But, I've really wanted to do a video showing off all the assets I've basically made for the mod, as well as all the scrapped stuff and whatever the fuck I worked on it. Mostly because I have like a lot of side projects on my hands right now, and there's a lot of people that don't know that I work on certain things, I guess. So I feel like making like a fun little video showing off everything I've done would be a nice addition to that, and it will be a fun video to make anyway. So here it is. I'll probably like make similar videos on like similar games I worked on, and show off everything I've worked from that, all with the permission from the devs, of course, which I got J-Drive specifically. He said, like, yeah, this video is like completely fine to make, so yeah, I'm going to do that. So here we go, let's get started with this Krita file of the first of the delivery background. Here it is. All made in Krita. This was completely before I started using Sprite. So everything here was done completely in Krita. And just to say this, like right now, this was complete hell to make. Like, it was absolutely atrocious. I've experienced a similar things making Sugary Spire backgrounds, because those were also done before I used Sprite and stuff. Those were also done in Krita, and those were equally not as fun to make, because Krita is not made for pixel art at all. Even though it has pixel art options, it's like it's not a very easy program to use pixel art wise, which absolutely was the case here. Because, of course, Krita does not have a pixel perfect option. So what I had to do, on every single sprite here, by the way, oh, this is a scrapped frame, is completely tweak, like, most of the line art so that it looks as pixel perfect as possible. And it was so tedious, it was like, my god, it was unbelievable that I finished this background, but I did. And I'd say for the time it turned out pretty good. I obviously think it's not as good as some of my newer stuff now, but for what it is, it works. It definitely does get the job done, and just alone that I made this entire thing in Krita is like, I feel like that's like an accomplishment to me somehow, even though it's like, my god, I could have used any other program. But this is what it is. Might as well go over like everything I referenced here. Which is of the crowd here. Not much is going on with the goblin. The pizza, what is this? What is his face? The Pizzard. On one hand, it's levitating this drill, which is a reference to one of the Pizza Tower comics made by McPig. I think it was like the something uglier series or something, where you see the Pizzard levitating this drill, or not levitating, he's just using a drill, and so that's why it's here. That's a reference to that. On the other hand, the Fork Knight over here, he has a fork. But on it is like spaghetti and meatballs, and it's spewing out sauce. That's a reference to, I'm pretty sure, one of the manual images in the Sage demo, where a Fork Knight is handling a fork with a similar thing. I'm pretty sure. Jerome is just over here eating a sandwich. It's one of his idols. Right here, this little guy over here, who you can barely see because the HUD is very big, unless you're like using down scroll or something. He's a reference to one of the Waste Yard backgrounds, where you can see like a similar guy in there, I'm pretty sure. Put a bunch of toppings a bunch of places. There's a sort book. And behind this platform, actually, there's this tower with a pizza boy inside of it. And this tower actually falls off in the blood sauce background. That's the canonical explanation. Because you see Pizza Head on this tower in the blood sauce background. So that's a little neat reference. There's a noise pole, grease balls on the painting portrait over here. Let me make sure the dog isn't blocking everything on my Streamlab. Night Rock over here, Pizzascape, this ramp. Right here we have a Fork Knight and a Pizzard just kind of arguing. Which is like, this is one of my favorite details in the background, actually. I still really like it. There's this sun, which this is a very, very obscure reference, because when I put this in, nobody in the team even knew what it was referencing. There was this one time, McPig like streamed him drawing in this, I guess like painting program. And he drew this one drawing with Peppino standing next to this like angry sun. So I decided to, that's why it's here, that's the explanation here, that's the reference. There's a plane stabbed into it, and that's a reference to the Sage demo. There's face blocks from September. Let's see. Pizza face, light, beam. Pretty much all the references here, and I think I can move on. The next asset is, this is actually the first ever concept of the delivery stage that was made, which didn't have a lot going on, and eventually added more and more stuff to it. Originally there was gonna be a cheese dragon that was gonna fly from side to side, but that was scrapped. I was originally gonna add it back in, but J-Drive said that there shouldn't be any more assets onto the background because there's already a lot going on, which is, yeah, it's fair. It's completely fair. There's this concept I made when I did like one of the first drafts of the background, and I wanted to add more stuff to it. So I basically outlined everything that I could add here, and it eventually made it into the final version. These next few assets are not actually for the demo per se, these are actually for the trailer. And all the assets I did for that. Here we have this singular Peppino screen. This was completely Lost Man's idea, and I love it for that. It's like, it's some of the funniest shit he came up with, I think. Peppino being, because the whole thing is that it's a more TV, advert, I guess. And to get footage of Peppino, this is the canonical explanation here. They just took a picture of Peppino while he was completely just, like, doing whatever the fuck in his house. And they cut him off guard while he was just naked eating cereal. The cereal being Grease Puff. Grease's Puffs. That's what they call. Here's this was actually supposed to be like a drawing I'd made for fun, but I ended up making it for the trailer anyway. And this is a immensely big critophile, by the way. The brush size here isn't actually too big. That's surprising. But this is a ginormous critophile. This is like crazy. And I still like this drawing, honestly. It's one of the better old drawings I've made. It's silly. Here's actually an old version of the whole boyfriend that stands in the trailer who trips Peppino. There's an old version of that. He originally looked like this. This ended up being used, and this ended up not being used because Nage made a completely better sprite. So, hell yeah. This was actually, so in the trailer you'd see these like little portraits of the characters talking, and they were originally gonna look more like horrid and deformed because Lost Man gave the idea of like the portraits being is similar to like Hotline Miami or something, and I completely went ham with that idea. and just made these portraits, just these fucked up portraits of the characters talking. This is the Peppino one. These ended up not being used because Ufra made like completely better ones. So yeah, that's pretty much the explanation. And I still like them on its own, but yeah, the Ufra assets were just like so much better. That's all the Krita files. Now on to move on to like where I did like actual stuff that matters. Here are all the assets for the blood sauce background, which the one mistake I made for it, it's probably why it's kind of unbalanced with how much is like going on in the background, like in general. I've made every single sprite here a separate ace file, which I probably should not have done because I needed a reference for like anything that was happening, and that made the background a bit cluttered in the final game. It did get fixed a little bit, and it's getting fixed a lot more in a hotfix I think that's coming up. But that's like the general reason why it's kind of cluttered, I'd say, even for Verse Peppino. Here's a scared goblin here of him like sweating bullets. And despite this, all of the blood sauce assets were actually like really fun to do. Here's a cheese slime. I don't even think you see him in the in the demo because he's covered by the HUD. But there's a cheese slime there in the crowd who looks completely bored out of his mind. Still like this asset. Here's a scared Pizzard with him holding a book, that being a reference to the scared animation in the actual game. Here's a Fork Knight who's scared, and I still really like this animation. I really like the hat bounce and stuff. It's a bit too tall, definitely. It was kind of blocking Boyfriend in some of the earlier builds. But overall, I really like how this animation turned out. Here's Jerome, and this is actually my favorite one, because this is just like his sleeping animation from my April build. And yeah, I think this is like my favorite one in the crowd, because I put a lot of effort into making this actually look pretty smooth and a lot more slower than the crowd, so it kind of gives itself a distinction, I guess. Here's the scared cheese slime. Another sprite that's a bit too tall, I think. Even now, I still think it's a bit too tall. It's kind of it kind of makes some of the background a bit cluttered. But I like this animation overall with like the smear frame with the eyes here. I'm like extremely proud of. And the long eye extension, which is, I think, a silly detail. There's another goblin in the crowd. He's holding a flag because he's surrendering, because Peppino angry. Oh, and here is actually this is a fun fact. So originally the Blood Cells background had Gabriel in it, and he was hiding under the whole thing where the Waste Yard creature was under, and it revealed himself to be the Waste Yard creature. This was scrapped from the build because I'm pretty sure like Affleck or somebody said that it had no point being in it because his entire existence was just blocked by the HUD. Which I mean is fair. Is fair, I guess. But that's him. That Gabriel was gonna be in Verse Peppino. So that was that. Here's a scared John block over here. Here's the death sprites from the crowd being hit by the bullets and blood sauce. There's every single one. I kind of rushed these, not gonna lie, and some of these ended up being bigger than the actual sprites. But I'd say they get the job done. They don't need to be like too complex, so it's like whatever. I like the Fork Knight one actually, with his hat like falling onto his head. And there's Gabriel dying. It is kind of sad that not the Gabriel stuff made it into the demo, but it is what it is. It do be what it is. Is the block dying? And these are actually, I'm pretty sure, because like the crowd on the platform was originally also gonna get shot, but that also didn't end up getting in. I forget the reason why, but that's that. Here's the towers with the rats. What's going on here is basically because the rat saw the shit pizza sticking out the toilet here. And he's scared because he thinks he would take the cheese or something, or smear it with the poop. So that's the explanation. Here's an asset here, and I really like this animation. Most are because of the John here. I really like how this turned out in particular. I really like the face I made. Here's a Pizzard and a Fork Knight here. The Pizzard being drunk for whatever reason. And the Fork Knight just being confused. Here is, I forget his name, but it's like a scrap Pizza Tower character. It's like something dough something. But I decided to put him in the background, and he destroyed like most of the face blocks. This is kind of like actually like a scary asset because they're still like moving and stuff. Here is the background asset with the sun going completely insane because another plane hit it, but this time in its fucking eye. It's kind of funny. I like that. Here's a pizza head over here, showing that the projection was from him and stuff. He's the one who's projecting pizza face. Just kind of wanted to give that an explanation. And then here's actually the noise bomb animation by J-Drive. But they wanted me to, but they didn't end up finishing it. So I just made the explosion animation here, which I think turned out pretty well. I'd say this does the job. My favorite thing about it is that I added little teleporting things to show the toppings teleporting away as a reference to Lamau. Here are actually concepts I did for the blood sauce gun poses. Originally his up pose was gonna be this, as a reference to the, I'm pretty sure one of the TVs when Peppino has the gun and stuff. We decided not to put this. J-Drive decided not to put this in because it's a bit of a style shift, I guess. Which I mean is fair, although I still think it's a funny detail. Here are like really old blood sauce gun concepts I did for like the poses and stuff. And yeah, they do be old. They still kind of hold up, I'd say, because I still like them. I think overall, they're just kind of old. Kind of fucked up the hand here because it's backwards. And I don't know if even that was fixed in the final build. I think it was just kind of kept backwards. But one fun fact about these is that most of the poses, besides this one, which was based off one of the heat meter idols, most of the poses here are actually based off of Evil Peppino, the concepts that McPig made. And I think it's noticeable in like the right pose and the I think the up pose or the down pose. It's either one. Oh no, I can't tell. I forgot. And maybe also the idol. I forgot though. It's been a long time since I've made these. Here is the spinning animation for the scream I did, which is a reference to what's it called? Satan's touch in the freezer level, because it goes red there. And I like this animation. It's a nice little reference, I'd say. Here is an animation I did with Binji, who is my girlfriend. She basically did the first few frames of Peppino being angry here, and then I finished the rest with him pulling out the gun and shooting. Half of these frames didn't end up being in the final demo actually, because the animation ended up being like way too long, so they had to cut it down. And they mostly cut down my frames. Luckily
all of Yachty's frames weren't cut or whatever. So that's silly. Very epic and cool. Oh, no.
Here's the blood sauce title card. What's happening here is Peppino is strangling boyfriend because he's an annoying little shit, and it's a reference. Well, how Peppino looks, it's a reference to the final judgment screen. And there's just cheese slimes floating here because I thought it looked cool. As well as skeletons, it's a reference to blood sauce and stuff. And the thing about the logo is that I forgot the skeleton's nose. And every time, and I mean, I like this how this title card turned out overall, but I'm so bothered that the skeleton does not have his nose that it's just like it's so hard to look at the title card logo. maybe I'll fix it someday, but I'll see. I'll see. He's gotta get his nose back soon. Here is the goblin taunt sprite that was used, and there are actually a couple of animations here that went unused, with him pulling his sign up and him jumbling up and down. Him pulling his sign up was originally gonna be like a more obvious indication that a taunting mechanic was gonna happen, but I guess that wasn't. Both these, I'll explain later why both these weren't put in. And here was like a more obvious animation to show that you needed to time the taunts to the rhythm. Because that is in the game, but it's kind of very, 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 very subtle. And it's very hard to notice, and a lot of people didn't end up noticing it. The reason why these weren't used in the game is because I think Affleck was like too lazy to add them. I think maybe that's the reason. That's not the entire reason. I don't think that's the completely correct reason. I'm just going off like I'm just going off of what I heard. But it sounded like Affleck just didn't want to add these assets, which, you know, it's fair. It's fair. Here is everything I did in the HUD. So here's the Peppino bar, the secret eye, lettuce, pizza, other stuff. Here's the combo guy, who is just 2 frames. And yeah, that's him. That's the combo guy. There's also, I also did a down scroll version, but I couldn't find that asset. So, oh well. Here's everything else I did from the HUD. The rank logo was originally going to be an eggplant, because we originally weren't going to add ranks into the demo, but then we ended up changing that. And the numbers were originally going to be colored, but they were changed to all being brown because it looked kind of weird in gameplay, where they were just like, the numbers were just kind of switching colors and it looked distracting. So that was that, and that's the explanation. Here's one of the screens I did for the options. The taunt over here being a reference to one of the sugary taunts, I think, where the guy is just on 2 legs. Here's another options screen. This one's very busy, and let me actually put this one in. There we go. So we can see all the assets. Here we have boyfriend standing in dismay as arrows appear above him. There's me no likey. Guy spray painting the arrows. The heat meter option. Boyfriend being crushed by the arrows. As to reference down scroll. This is a funny little detail, I think. That's basically that asset. Silly. Here's one of the inside bars I did for boyfriend, which is basically, I wanted to make sure it like it fits his character and all. So I put boyfriend over here, him in a Newgrounds tank, bunch of Newgrounds characters, Pico, Tankman, Hank, Ed World. There's that, and I like how this turned out. It's pretty colorful. There's the Peppino bar, which says Peppino, pizza, eyes, towers. That's basically, that's all it's referencing. It's the
There's the Gustavo bar. And here's everything from Sweet Mayhem. There's a lot of layers here. Let me get rid of the guys. And let me peel down all the layers. I can't reference like every single thing, but there's Dead Pizzard. Try to reference everything I see. Secret Eye, and a bomb's about to fall on it, and there's a little rat on it. Big granny pizza face over here, and the eye's looking up here because a question mark is about to fall on it. There's another granny pizza face but a question mark fell in its eye. There's a tower stuck in the cheese, which I actually like how this turned out. There's a Pizzard screaming because he's stuck in the middle of a giant granny pizza face. It's just a fucked up face over here. Sauce dripping from the cheese. There's one in a question mark. There's one getting hit by grease ball. There's that. I'm not sure if there's much behind here. Although I did put a face on one of the pizzas here. So that's that. That's basically that asset. And this is actually an old version of this, which was originally gonna. This background was originally had like 0 desaturation at all, and oh my god, it was so hard to see in game, like anything that was happening. We had to like desaturate it to shit, and thank God we did, because not only does the background look a lot more better, but this is just, even right here when making this, I'm confuzzled how I didn't realize that it was really hard to see what's going on, but I'm glad we fixed it because it was for the better. And here's the same with the blackout background basically. Can go over all the references here, and this is an old version by the way, also without desaturation. This is based on a concept, I think, that was done by Ufra, which was like an old version of the background where it had eyes and shit. We decided to put it in. Here's an old weenie sprite, actually, that was never animated. There's a rat over here, it's pointing. Not much to go over here. It's the cool transition sprite. It's just like a pizza face. Staring down on it. It's pretty silly. Here is the animation for the noises in the foreground that block the notes. I see a lot of people confused on what's happening here, and the whole idea is here is because these little noises are next to this NTV sponsored TV, and it's basically playing like a follow along play, and the noises animations here are supposed to be timed to the hey sound effects of the song. So that's what it's basically saying. The follow along program that the noises are watching is basically that's the idea. It's timed to the haze in the song. And it works as a silly mechanic in the final game because they like block the notes and stuff, which I think ended up being a cool idea. Here's the noise rocket sprite that was ended up being animated by Luke at the end. I will say this sprite is like blocking like most of the details that are pleasant, especially in the John running animation. But overall, I think how this turned out was pretty good. I like the stop the noises singing sign. That's pretty silly. And here is the John running animation, which the original sprite was made by me, but it was animated by Scurf, I think. I think that's what they go by. But I basically made the original sprite, and the way they animated was actually like insanely good. It was awesome. There was that as a girlfriend giving Snick CPR, which was silly and goofy. Here's the here's the Gustavo title card, and now we're moving on to everything Gustavo, which is Gustavo in all his glory, blocking everything in sight to see is Gustavo. And here are the Gustavo sprites. which they are something. They do be something. I feel like the most fucked up thing here is the idol, which I don't know how I got the idea to make it move like this, but it happened. And ended up being like, and a lot of people say that this is probably like the funniest thing I've ever made, so I mean, I agree, because it's like really fucked. What's kind of fucked in general is that not a lot of people, because a lot of people reacted to Gustavo in verse Peppino. Not a lot of people know he's actually from Scout to Go. That's the thing. Even on the Funkopedia, it doesn't say that it's on Scout to Go. So I feel like something like that has to be like fixed at some point. So yeah. Here's the crystal. I don't even know why I put these in here. I didn't even make this. This is just like a dope forest PNG. And I purposely made it old tiles, just to like it's fucked up. Here's the old Gustavo background. Actually, it was originally gonna be in Gustavo land. And this was based on where he appears in Scout to Go, which is like the tutorial area. But this ended up not being in because J-Drive said that the background needed to be GNOME Forest PNGs, so that ended up being that. Here's an asset I did for the manual, and it's the only asset I did. That's why it's in a different font from everything else. So yeah, that's basically it. Here's the McPig icon I did. Very, very McPig. Here's my icon, which has Green Man in the background. And you were originally originally able to see Green Man like more visibly in the background in the credit screen, but it didn't end up being a thing. And I think for the better because it makes it funnier. Here's this singular concept actually. This was actually gonna be for a scrapped mechanic, or not a mechanic, scrapped animation, where Snick would basically wake up in the middle of Sweet Mayhem, grab girlfriend, and then run alongside with Pino. And that didn't end up being in the build because I think everyone just forgot about this existing. So yeah, nobody animated for it, and I don't know if it's gonna be in the future. Definitely depends. But there's that. That is basically every single asset I've made for Verse Peppino. There are some I didn't show, and some I won't show because they're for a later build of the game. But that is pretty much it. Yeah, play Verse Peppino. It's good mod, and a lot of effort went into it. And there's gonna be cooler things that are gonna be added soon into the mod. So definitely support it with like everything ever. It's already gotten like a lot of support with the mod coming out and stuff. But just know a lot of people worked on it, a lot of cool people, and it's definitely something that needs to be supported. With that is the video. See you guys in the future. Oh.